Welcome to Food Friends, a podcast inspiring home cooks to try new dishes in the kitchen by sharing trusted recipes, tips, and friendship. Hi, I'm Sonia.
And I'm Carrie. We met in Los Angeles over 15 years ago as personal chefs and haven't stopped talking about food since. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating.
A lot of people have been curious about our food friends, and we've mentioned a number of them on this show. Today, we're talking to two of our very closest food friends who give us ideas, who share their favorite recipes. I text with Sam almost every week about something new she's trying, and I've learned so much.
And we're also bringing on my friend Malin, who I've mentioned many, many times because I see Malin every week. She and I are both parents of 9-year-old children, and so we're always collaborating about what our families are cooking, what she's baking. She's an avid baker just like you. We wanted to bring our food friends on to help all of us and share their great ideas too.
What I found so interesting is how many parallels there were between Sam and Malin, two people who have never met each other. And it makes sense because there are connections between you and I. It makes sense that our friends would also have connections between each other. Sam and Malin are both going to share some recipes today about what they're really cooking for their families to get through the week, things that they trust and rely on over and over again. So stay tuned to hear real life cooking from our food friends. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Carrie knows how often I talk about Sam because Sam, I think you'd message me after nearly every episode we ever put out.
It's true. I really look forward to every episode and they're so fun. And I think I laugh at every episode, even though this is a food podcast.
Your support has really meant so much to both of us. I always share everything with Carrie because it really keeps us going, especially in those early days. You also really inspire me all the time. You legitimately send me recipes that are excellent. Over the years, you've shared a lot about what you make for your son. And I have to let everyone know that your son has one of the most amazing palates of any human being. And he has such reverence for food. I have to tell this one quick story, which is you came to Thanksgiving and your son was not only the most enthusiastic and kind diner at that table, I've never had a more respectful guest, but he even noticed things down to the plateware. I remember serving dessert and he was like, wow, Sonia, these are such beautiful plates. And at the time he was what, 9, 10?
He had just turned 10. I mean, and what an absolute treat to be a guest at your Thanksgiving table. And that's so sweet of you to say that about him. He is certainly the opposite of a butter noodles kid. He's absolutely on the far opposite. I'm so thrilled to talk about the things I feed him because it is work feeding anybody, your kid, your partner. We have one child, he's about to turn 11, and we're so privileged to be able to feed him this delicious, bountiful, fresh food. I live here in Portland, Oregon with Sonia, and we just have the most incredible produce and farmers markets and bakeries. And I'm a food person, so that's something I really prioritize.
Sam, why don't you walk us through a full day of eating, what you're making for your son?
I am the morning captain in our family, and I'm also the food captain. I get up probably about an hour and a half before he does to sort of have coffee and set myself up for the day. He has some type of eggs in the morning, either a quick scrambled egg, or I will soft boil like a dozen eggs at the beginning of the week to have in the refrigerator because sometimes I just don't have the time or the wherewithal to cook. And as the weather has gotten colder, he asks me for a cheese toastie. So I will toast a piece of sourdough bread and melt a little bit of white cheddar on it. I typically serve that with some fruit. He eats breakfast at about 7:30 or 7:45. We get out the door at about 8:20. And he doesn't eat lunch again until 12:30. For anybody who has kids, watching their blood sugar drop, it's really like watching them go from mogwai to gremlin, we say. So I'm constantly thinking about what I can pack him for the day that's going to keep him sated and full and kind of level. So I put a lot of effort into his lunches every day. I realized thinking about coming on this episode that they kind of have two modes. Either everything is homemade from scratch or it's all pre-made stuff. For example, today it was sort of more of a homemade lunch. It's really like he goes to school like he is a longshoreman or like a journeyman with everything he brings with him. Have you ever had the pita from Costco?
Oh,
It is
No.
excellent and
hot tip. This is what I'm here
hot
for,
tip.
Yes.
Sam.
Yeah,
Yes.
hot tip. The pita from Costco is quite thick and fluffy and really a good deal. I think you get 12 for $7 and it holds up better than sandwich bread. So I will toast up a pita, throw in some grilled chicken, arugula, and onion, and I pack that sort of as his main sandwich. And I will make like a quick, sort of like a tzatziki sauce. So I will mix up Greek yogurt, whole milk yogurt, crush up a garlic, some lemon juice, and I put that on the side. So he kind of drizzles that on his pita. I also packed him arugula, fennel, and apple salad, which I know sounds so extra for a 10-year-old, but he loves it and he eats it. We get a CSA box every Monday. I just hate the idea of throwing this beautiful produce away because I haven't figured out how to use it. So I'm always challenging myself, and we've had quite a few fennel bulbs recently. And it's a Melissa Clark recipe where it's shaved fennel, apple. I put in a little bit of arugula and some walnuts, and it really holds up. I also filled a container of pomegranates in an old jam jar, and I bake a lot. I bake probably 2 or 3 times a week. I make a lot of snacking cakes. I know you both love snacking cakes. This week, I don't know if you've ever tried this recipe, but it's Sarah Jumple. She created a cider donut loaf cake for Bon Appetit, and it is incredible. It has all those fall flavors. It's a little bit fussy because you have to reduce apple cider and you brush the loaf cake on it, and then you cover it with sugar and cinnamon and nutmeg. So I sent him with a slice of that too.
Wow. I mean, I have to say a few things. This is what I love about you because you come not with great ideas, but with actual recipes that you trust. I have been eyeing that cake and haven't made it yet. And so hearing your vote of confidence is
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, now I'm going to make it.
And it's so good because I love apple cider donuts, but I find that a lot of them lack flavor. It's a fantastic recipe because the flavor in it is just so high. Because you told the story about him commenting on your beautiful plates. In the beginning of the year, he said to me, because I send him with a cloth napkin every day, he said, "Can you please send me with a placemat too?" I said, "Yep, you got it. You
Oh
got it."
my
Yeah,
gosh. I
I
wish
know.
people could meet him. You two have my favorite boys on the
Oh,
planet.
that's so sweet.
For anyone who is listening to this conversation and maybe thinking kids don't eat that way, I think kids learn how to eat by the people around them. And so, one of the first things that you said was this is a lot of work. It does sound like you take a lot of joy and pride in all of the meals that you make for your family. When this was my job, I cooked for a lot of families. And so, I saw the breadth of kids and the palates that they had. And yes, some children do eat this way. I don't send salad in my son's lunch because he won't eat salad like that. But we always are trying things because just like adults, unless you try it, you don't really know if you like it. I do have one specific question about your cheesy toast because my dad used to make cheese toast for us and he would toast bread and then he would put a slice of cheese on and put it in the microwave. How do you melt the cheese?
That's such a good question. I don't have a microwave.
I don't either.
I toast it and then I slice up some white cheddar. You know what's excellent cheddar is the New Zealand organic cheddar from Trader Joe's, and it's pretty inexpensive. And I put it under the broiler in our oven for about 5 minutes or in the toaster oven. A good cheese toasty is worth the extra effort.
I love these details. I have to say, I feel like his lunch and my lunch from even the What I Ate in a Day episode are quite similar, like a fennel salad, some pita. I was like, wow, we have
Pomegranates.
pomegranate. I think he and I share really similar tastes, having eaten some meals with him.
It's really true. And when Sonia had her deli and he was much younger, my husband would take him often as like his after school snack. And he still talks about the food there. And he still talks about the deli salads and the chocolate chip cookies, of course. So yeah, you definitely
Oh.
are in the same palate universe, which is really sweet.
They would come in, especially Friday afternoon, and my whole staff was obsessed with their visit. But
So Sweet.
But Sam, I am really curious because
Yeah.
all these little tips, like the New Zealand cheddar, the Costco pita, this is the information we need from each other. I'd like to hear one of the pre-made lunches too. What do you rely
Yeah.
on when you don't have time to make everything from scratch?
Yeah, absolutely. I rely heavily on Trader Joe's. And something he really loves from there are the canned dolmas, the canned stuffed grape leaves. I don't know if you've ever had them. And then they make a Caesar dip in their prepared tubs. And I will pack a little tiffin of that with their pita chips and then some sliced cucumbers and bell peppers. And then because I always put a little treat in, I will absolutely just put in a little packet of candy corn and I'll put in either an apple or some grapes because I'm always thinking of things that are going to last and still look appealing 4 or 5 hours later. I also have to send them with a snack every day. And when it's all pre-made, I don't know, Carrie, has your son ever had the smash bites? I think they would be called like a power ball or like a power bite in a health food shop. It's essentially nut butters, and then inside is a chia jam. And I get them at Costco. I get like a pack of 20. And if your kid's school is nut free, there's sunflower flavors as well. And there's 4 or 5 in a pack. And that's a great pre-made snack because it's not messy, but a quick snack that I've been making for him, homemade. God, Melissa Clark is coming up a lot, but her Harvest Lunchbox muffins, which are incredible because they're really flexible. Like a lot of muffin recipes, you can interchange a lot of the ingredients. They call for whole wheat flour, shredded carrots, zucchini, raisins, apple, and it's sweetened with honey and olive oil. So it's really, really nutritious ingredients. When it's a lunch, again, that's homemade, I'll make 1 or 2 of those and put them in his snack pack, as he calls it.
Sam, I have two follow-up questions
Yeah.
because you're such a wealth of knowledge and I'm already excited to try everything you've mentioned. First of all, I'd love to know some
Mm.
other things from Costco that you highly recommend.
That's a great question because going to Costco is an event. But for breakfast, the Amy Lou chicken sausages, which are excellent frozen sausages, Kerrygold butter and their Kerrygold cheddars at a really good value. Also, their pomegranates. And I also think Costco is just such a great place to go for olive oil. What are your favorite things at Costco?
I'll just chime in and say
Oh,
I have one. I don't shop at Costco, but thanks to Sonia, I discovered that my favorite peanut butter is Costco peanut butter.
oh,
My source is Malin. Whenever she goes to Costco, she texts me and says, "Do you want some Costco peanut butter?"
yeah, their nuts and their nut butters are hard to beat.
Although I have a really sad piece of information, which is the Kirkland brand organic peanut butter has been discontinued. It has been replaced with another brand that is also still organic and also is just peanuts and salt. And it is quite good. I've tested it out, but I'm still a little hurt that they discontinued it. I get the New Zealand grass-fed butter there. I also like to get oil there. I always get my sugar and big things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Some of those staples. If I'm making a big brisket, I get it at Costco. But Sam, I do have a follow-up, which is you really love cookbooks. You have an incredible cookbook collection and you really cook from your cookbooks,
I do.
which is, I think, actually kind of rare. I'm curious if there's ones that you're reaching for the most, especially when you're thinking about feeding your family.
I love your cookbook, obviously. And
Mhm.
it's really wonderful. For like family food, I've really used Julia Turshen's Small Victories a lot. I think that's a really great kind of sturdy cookbook. Alison Roman's cookbooks are really good. She's a really great recipe writer. And then for baking, my all-time favorite baking cookbook is the Violet Bakery cookbook by Claire Patax. Do you know this?
Yeah.
She's a Californian who moved to London and started this sort of viral bakery.
We've talked a lot about Nicole Rucker, and they did a collab in London recently. But I love that cookbook, and I always forget to mention it. And then you always remind me, and I'm like, Sam is so right. That is one of the best baking cookbooks.
It is. She worked at Chez Panisse, and
Right.
it is just a gorgeous cookbook where it's like simple, rustic, straightforward recipes, but all the flavors like so elevated.
What's one recipe from that book that you find yourself going back to?
The banana bread.
Oh,
It is the best banana bread recipe. I think it's hard to make banana bread that people are like, wow.
how many bananas are in the banana
Such a
bread?
good question. I think 7.
Oh,
Oh, that's a
wow.
lot.
And then she has a really beautiful apple galette recipe where you peel the apples and you use the peel to make a sauce reduction, which is sort of a more chefy recipe. But for kids, I've used her whoopie pie recipe because she she makes this incredible marshmallow icing for cupcakes.
These are all such helpful tips. Is there a dish that your son asks you for over and over and over again?
Oh yeah, spag bowl is what he calls spaghetti bolognese because I think he first heard about it in reading a Roald Dahl book or some English book. I would say that is his favorite dish. That or I've made this so many times in the past couple months. I shared the recipe with you, but it's a New York Times recipe. It's the creamy, spicy tomato beans.
Yeah, well, I've made it.
Oh,
And
what'd you
yeah,
think?
yeah, I know. I loved it. And it reminded me a lot of one that I shared here that was by Justine Duran, of
Oh,
Justine
yeah.
Snacks. That's like a similar idea. But I
Mhm.
think that combination of cream with tomatoes, and that recipe has sun-dried tomatoes, which is just such a more concentrated and jammier flavor. It's a very smart recipe. We'll definitely link all these recipes that you're mentioning, but I feel like that is another must try.
I would be totally remiss if I didn't mention what truly makes his lunches so special is that my husband, he has drawn our son a picture for his lunch every single day since he's been 3 years old. It's really just like a special way to stay connected with him throughout the day.
That's so lovely. What a treat.
And Sam, one last question. The
Yes.
bolognese, though, do you have a
Yeah.
recipe or do you make it up as you go?
Yeah, it's definitely a riff on the Marcella Hazan, which I just think it can't be beat. I tend to only use beef. The biggest difference for me is when it got to the point where I'm simmering it, is I just put it in the oven at a really low temperature and just kind of walk away.
That's such a great tip because I think I always feel tied to the stove. That's the recipe I go to. I've never used a different one.
Yeah, and I have to say I got that tip from Nigella Lawson.
I also love that Marcella Hassan recipe. That's my go-to as well. So I love that we all have that.
Yeah.
That Nigella TV show, Nigella, more than any other person on the planet, was my North Star because she's a beautiful speaker and her food writing really comes out in that show, but also her true joy every time she took a bite.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
What I wanted to see.
Yes.
yeah. My North Star, what I loved as a kid, was Two Fat Ladies.
Well, I was gonna say, and the other one we have to mention is Two Fat Ladies, because obviously we that's like to me the part of the inspiration of Food Friends. If
Yes.
you haven't seen Two Fat Ladies, go
What
to
are you doing
YouTube.
with your life?
Well, no, go to YouTube. They have so many of the episodes on YouTube.
Sam, I have one last question. I'm curious if your son has a request for his birthday.
It's coming up, and he said, okay, well, you want to do all these things, I'm going to have games outside, and then we'll come back. How about some egg salad sandwiches, and then we have some
Oh
cucumber
my
sandwiches,
gosh.
and it'll be cold so we can have tea and hot chocolate. And I said, okay, but let's think about what are some other things that your friends really like to eat. But I've made his birthday cake every year.
So, what is the cake you're going to make this year?
So I actually made this cake for a bake sale at his school, and it's a Christina Tossi recipe, and it's a pistachio bundt cake. And this is what I love about Christina Tossi is that there's also a packet of pistachio instant pudding mix in the
Yeah.
dry ingredients.
So
Um,
Midwestern.
so Midwestern.
Yes.
And it's just this very almondy, nutty, rich flavor. So he actually asked for that for his birthday cake.
This child and his taste to have a British tea and pistachio bun cake, I cannot get over it. Well, Sam, this has been such a joy.
Thank you so much. This has really been the highlight of my week. And congratulations on all of your episodes and all of the friendship and food you two have shared. It's really lovely.
Oh, Sam, we just love you. Thanks
Oh,
for being our food friend.
oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Sonia, I really loved hearing how Sam thinks about cooking for her family and packing lunches for her son, because this is exactly what I talked to Malin about too, is what she's packing for her daughter for lunch and how she's also making her menus for her weeknight meals.
Yeah, and I was really struck by how much Malin and Sam have in common.
Totally.
We're going to hear from Malin next, but it was kind of uncanny because they had no idea what the other person was going to say. We had no idea what they were going to say. But these two women are really using similar strategies and similar recipes, and they both offer so many good tips. Let's hear from Malin.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Sonia. I'm really, really excited to be here, honestly. Number one, I listen to your podcast all the time. And number two, it's just nice to talk about food with your food friends.
Malin, people hear me talking about our conversations all the time because I get to see you every week. You work a very full-time job and you're a very full-time cook. And every time I have one of these conversations with you, I always learn something about how to make my kitchen life a little bit easier.
Yeah, totally. I think in order to be the most efficient I can be, being able to make a home cooked meal after a full day at work, I have to do a lot of pre planning. Meal planning for the week is essential for me. That drives my grocery list, not only from a Whole Foods, but also from the Sunday farmers market.
I'm curious, as you're menu planning, if there's a recipe or two that you've been really relying on or that's been in your rotation lately that makes your life easier.
It's a meatless meal, which we like during the week, is actually Jamie Oliver's eggplant parm. What I like about this recipe is that you don't have to bread and fry the eggplant slices, which makes it a lot easier, but instead you just roast it in the oven. What gives the sort of crunchy crispiness of the breading is that you top it with this herbaceous breadcrumb mix. When you bake it, you get that crunchy kind of feel that you might miss if you didn't bread and fry your eggplant slices. The other thing I like about it as a weeknight meal is that you can prep it 1 to 2 days in advance, leave it in the fridge, bring it out when you're ready to bake it, and bring it to room temperature and pop it in the oven. If on a Sunday I'm doing a lot of food prep, I can just make it in advance. And then I know Monday or Tuesday we can enjoy the eggplant parm.
Malin, I'm so glad that you shared that recipe. That's actually something that Sonia and I share a love of as well as eggplant parm. And we love crispy, buttery, garlicky breadcrumbs.
I think Jamie Oliver is such an amazing resource for home cooks. I really feel like he thinks about how people are cooking in their kitchen. Like he's thinking, you don't have to fry the eggplant. You can make it all ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you don't miss the meat, the chicken in a traditional parm. And we know that in a couple days we can pull it out and enjoy it.
So, Malin, what's another weeknight recipe that you've been relying on lately?
So, one that is an easy one pot meal is a rice dish that's supplemented with quinoa. You layer it with shiitake mushrooms. And what I like about one pot dish, other than the obvious that it's just simple and easy and easy on cleanup, is that it sort of reminds me of some of the childhood one pot dishes my mom used to make that are rice based. On the days where she wanted to cut herself a little bit of slack and not do all that knife work and julienne all the vegetables and the protein to do the stir frying, she made this rice dish that was basically layered with marinated chicken and sliced up bok choy. And it was just a comforting, easy meal.
Malin, do you bake it or do you cook it on the stovetop?
You cook it on the stovetop, and there's this method to the layering. And then it also says definitely don't try to peek. Let it steam all together. I like to just add a little bit of frozen shelled edamame in there as well. I mean, it's got a lot of protein as it is, but just in terms of adding a green vegetable into the pot, it's something that James will make as well. My James.
Oh, you're both married to someone named James.
Yes.
I did not know that somehow. Malin, what is that recipe from?
That's a Bon Appetit recipe. It's got plenty of oil stains on it. It's well used, that's for sure.
Do you find that you take a lot of inspiration from the meals that you grew up eating that your mom cooked?
I crave some of the dishes that my mom used to make and still make, actually. And I think for a long time, I felt some of those dishes were hard to master. So I would avoid them.
Can you tell us what?
Yeah, sure. Carrie has experienced this. It's almost like a Chinese tamale. You use dried bamboo leaves, you kind of soak them, you reconstitute them, and you wrap them in a way where you put seasoned sweet short grain rice and pork in it. And sometimes you can add other things to it. Then you cover it with rice and then you wrap the bamboo leaf over it. And then very intricately, you take a long piece of kitchen twine and wrap it up. Then you put it all in a big steamer pot, steam them for an hour or so. And then you can just put them in the fridge, or as I do, I make 80 to 100 of them at a time, and then I stuff them in the freezer. There's nothing better than finding something in your freezer and not remembering it's in there and being able to pull that out on a weeknight.
What is that dish called?
So I'm Shanghainese by origin, and so in that dialect, it's called zhongzi. And it's funny because my daughter likes to say it, And she always teases my husband because he can't get the pronunciation just right. But it's a favorite dish in the family, and Carrie's experienced it too before.
It's a really delicious dish. As a person who lives in the same neighborhood as Malin and gets to see her every week, when she makes 80 Chinese tamales, we get the benefits of those too. And it's amazing when I find those things in my freezer and I'm like, oh, I don't have to cook dinner tonight.
There's another one that my mom used to make or still does for Lunar New Year. It's like a cold appetizer dish. And it's essentially like julienne's jellyfish mixed with, she would use broccoli stems and julienne that, and you would mix it in this like soy, sugar, sesame oil mixture. I never thought to make it. I was like, oh, that's just my mom's dish. But I think over the years, as I've gotten more comfortable, I've tried to start to tackle some of those things, and it's worked out.
That sounds so delicious because you have so many amazing recipes that sound like they can be made ahead of time. Is there another one that you've been sort of prepping in advance and reheating when needed?
In terms of those freezer treasures, when I make bolognese, I try to make double or triple the recipe, and then I just freeze them in the ball jars. That's just a pleasant weeknight surprise to have this rich bolognese with pasta and maybe a Caesar salad. And like Carrie, I have an extra freezer in my garage. So
And like Sonia too. I'm wondering if you can share what bolognese recipe that you go to.
it's the Mimi Thorson recipe. It just has the right balance of protein to sauce, and you don't have to babysit it on the stovetop, which I like a lot. Again, Carrie and Mac and James have had it. It seems to be a hit.
That was your daughter's request for her birthday this year. Will you please share what was on that menu? Because it was really one of the best meals I had all summer.
She wanted bolognese with Caesar salad, and she wanted a couple of appetizers. We did like a tomato peach salad. What was the appetizer, Carrie?
It was bruschetta, but there was a very specific tip. You cooked the garlic a little bit, so it didn't have that like bite to it.
Yes, that's one thing that I sometimes I find with raw garlic. It's just got this really strong bite to it, but just by gently cooking the minced garlic, I feel like it took away from that raw garlic. Just to carry on with the Italian theme, we had a spumoni cake. It wasn't ice cream based. It was actually a layer of cherry cake, chocolate cake, pistachio cake. So
Did you make that?
I made it. Yes,
That's
I made it.
impressive.
So, Malin, you're someone I always go to besides Sonia when I am thinking about baking or I'm struggling with a recipe. I feel like you're always putting really great baked goods and snacks in your daughter's lunch. You could maybe share a couple of recent recipes that you think are working and something that is also Maeve approved.
Yes. Kid approved is really important. And I think it was the recent episode you and Sonia did on what I eat in a day, where you mentioned that parents are always looking for a snack or a treat that is a little bit sweet, but has a lot of protein in it. I'm always looking for those recipes. Recently, I came across another Bon Appetit recipe that is a chocolate date bran muffin, fiber packed with wheat bran and whole wheat flour, but it also has a bit of protein in it from the eggs and from the yogurt. But I think what sets this recipe apart is, first of all, obviously the chocolate, which adds a little bit of sweetness. And Sonia, I took your tip of not using chocolate chips because of what they add to it to keep their shape. And so I chop up chocolate, and so it gets that ooey gooey texture to it. But then, of course, you get the sweetness from the dates. It's really the orange zest and the orange juice, sort of the finish on the muffin. You get all that citrus taste to it. So it's a pretty tasty snack.
I would like to come over right now and have some of this snack.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for other snacks, I think it just depends. When she was a lot younger, I would make these little egg frittatas in mini muffin tins, and that's something that you can easily freeze.
How do you get them to not stick?
These muffin liners, the unbleached parchment
If you
line.
care.
If you
I think
care.
it's called If You
If you
Care.
care.
Yes.
They make the mini ones, and so I kind of pop those in. So it's
they're
kind of
parchment paper liners.
yeah,
'cause
exactly.
A tremendous amount of people wrote in to talk about silicone muffin tins and silicone muffin liners, both of them.
They're so floppy. Like you do have to put it on a sheet pan in order to use that.
One of our listeners specifically said she uses the silicone liner and she just puts that into her metal pan.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's something I'm going to try soon as well, so I can report back.
Yeah, that's a lot of silicone liners because you and I both know we try to minimize the amount of kitchen tools and utensils that we seem to collect.
It's true. Well, one final thing. Every year, Malin makes this incredible cookie box, and she spends weeks planning the cookies and testing them and deciding what she's going to put in. It's incredible to be the receiver of this box. You never tell me ahead of time before they arrive what they are, but I'm curious if you've started thinking about what you're going to put in your cookie box this year.
Yes, of course, we've started thinking about what we're putting in the cookie box. And as Carrie would say, no one likes a theme more than Malin. Most years, it's related to our Christmas tree theme. And James was born in the late 60s. I was born in the early 70s. So we're going to do a retro Christmas. So we're going to flashback. We have our childhood stockings. So we're going to do a flashback to basically like a 1970s Christmas. I've been looking up kind of retro cookie ideas. There's like a potato chip cookie. Of course, you want some of the thumbprint or jam cookies.
I love a theme as well. And it's been so lovely to finally get to meet you after all this time and to get to hear so many great ideas. Truly, I'm excited to try every single thing you mentioned.
Great. Let me know if you like them.
Same. Malin, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being our food friend.
Thanks for being my food friend.
Bye. Thanks for being our food friend.
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with friends. We love hearing from you, so follow us on Instagram or drop us a line at foodfriendspodcast.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you and your food friends. Happy cooking and eating.